having a bad hair day, so let's just ignore that. But hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I thought it would be fun to rank my top 10 favorite books that I've ever read, from like least favorite, even though they're obviously my favorite, to my most favorite. I tried to narrow this down to 10 books, and I feel like that was like a perfect number. They're not all 5-star books, but they are all pretty highly rated books, like 4.5 stars or more, so pretty much 5 stars. This is basically from when I started reading 2 years ago until now, so some of them are like older reads and I loved them at the time. I don't know if I would still feel the same way towards them. If I were to reread them, I think that I might feel a little bit differently. Yeah, I'm going based off of that. So but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I feel like I'm a pretty harsh rater. I don't tend to give out a lot of 5 stars or like higher rated books. I have to be in love with the book. The book has to give me a special type of feeling. So either way, I'm really excited to do this, and I think that is all I have to say. So let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so starting off with number 10, I actually don't have the physical book because I read it so long ago. I read it on my iPad originally. It was like when I first started reading. This is a Colleen Hoover book, and the book was Layla. I was obsessed with this book when I first read it. Again, I was very new to reading. So yeah, this was the second book that I ever actually started reading with. I really want to reread this book because I wonder if I would feel so differently about it now. I think the concept was really cool. It's more of like a paranormal book. Most of Colleen Hoover books are romance, but this one was more on like paranormal thriller. I still love the concept of it. I love the idea that the book has. I just don't know if I would still feel the same, which is why it's number 10 on this list. So yeah, that is my thoughts on it. Again, I loved it at the time. There were a lot of different twists. The ending was something that was not expecting at all, which I think was why I loved it so much. That's like one of my favorite things in a book, is if the ending is like super crazy and something that I did not predict at all. When I read the book, I literally wrote in my notes, my favorite book I've ever read. I really want to do a video where I reread some of my like favorite books that I've ever read, because I'm just so curious to see like how my taste has changed. Yeah, that is number 10 on the list. I don't really read much Colleen Hoover anymore. I feel like people give her such a bad rep. Pretty much everyone started off by reading her books, and I think that they're very like basic, easy. Most of her books are romance, so super quick. I think they're good for beginners, but I feel like everyone gives her kind of a bad reputation after they read her for a while. I just feel like why? We all started off of reading her books, so I feel like we should not be that way towards her, but that's just my opinion. All right, so number 9 is a book that I read at the beginning of this year. I started out a new series that everyone loves, and I am honestly right there with you guys. I love this series so much. I'm only 3 books in, but this first book was so good. I read this super quick. So that is Flawless. This is by Elsie Silver, and this is part of the Chestnut Spring series. So this tells the story of Summer and Rhett. Rhett is a bull rider. So the story starts off with Rhett kind of getting into a fight. He's a very professional bull rider, so this was really bad for his image. So Summer is hired to kind of babysit him, make sure that he doesn't do anything dumb again and anything that will ruin his career. They spend a lot of time together, and I just thought that this book was so cute. Rhett is honestly one of my favorite book boyfriends that I've ever read about. He was just so caring. He starts off very grumpy. It's like a grumpy sunshine read, but towards the middle to the end of the book, it just is so cute. I truly love this book so much, and I've loved every single book in this series. Not as much as I've loved this one so far. Like I said, I still have 2 more books to go, but every time I think about this book, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just so fluffy and cute, and I just love the way that the story panned out. While I was reading it, I really didn't not like any part of this book. I gave this 5 stars. I loved it so much. I also just realized on this list, the way that I ranked them is not the way that I rated them, and I don't know why that is. Maybe my ratings have changed for some of them, but like thinking back, this is how I would rank them now. So don't really pay attention to the ratings that I gave them at the time. I'm just going off of solely how I feel about them now. So yeah, I don't know, take that as you will, but that's just like my thoughts on it. I don't really know, whatever. it's not that big of a deal. All right, so coming at number 8, I have Love and Other Words. This is by Christina Lauren, I believe. I don't have the physical copy. Again, my mom has it at home. I don't even know if she's reading it. She's had it for a long time. I love this book so much. I'm just thinking about it. I want to reread it so bad. I want to reread all of these books, honestly. But this tells the story of, oh gosh, I don't even remember the characters' names. Basically, they were like childhood friends to lovers. The story starts off with them like not seeing each other for 11 years. They finally run into each other, and throughout the story, I think it's going back between past and present, so you're kind of getting both timelines and seeing why they haven't talked in 11 years. And this book was just so cute. Both of the main characters are like obsessed with reading, so that's what a lot of the story is about, is them like going through their childhood life, loving reading together and talking about books. I think that's why I think it's like more of a cozy romance. I know so many people love this book, and it's just like a staple for so many people, so that is definitely one of my favorites. I think I rated this 4.5 stars when I first read it. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah, I really liked that book, and thinking back, I just want to reread it so bad. Number 7, I have People We Meet on Vacation. This is by Emily Henry. Emily Henry is my favorite author, so of course I am gonna love any of the books that she puts out. Besides Beach Read, I feel like I did not like that one as much as other people did, but it is the first book that I ever read by her. Again, that's one of those books I really want to go back and reread just because I love her so much as an author, and I wonder if I just did not grasp the concept of the book, because I feel like her books always have a bigger underlying meaning to them. They're more of a literary fiction tied with romance. I picked this one up last year, and I was very hesitant because so many people have said that this is not a good book at all and that they just did not like it. So I had this on my shelf for a really long time, but I finally picked it up and I loved this book so much. I think I related so much to the main character in this book. This tells the story of Alex and Poppy. So Poppy is a travel vlogger, so she goes on all of these different trips, and Alex and her used to be best friends. They used to go on all of these trips together, and they haven't gone in like 2 years, I think. So the story starts off with her, I think Poppy just needs like a vacation, so she decides to ask Alex to go with her on this vacation. It sparks up their friendship again, and obviously it sparks up a romance. So it's more of like childhood best friends to lovers, and that's one of my all-time favorite tropes, if you couldn't tell from Love and Other Words. And a lot of different books that I've read on this list are childhood friends to lovers. Obviously I ate this up. I loved it so much. There was just so many good quotes in it, so many good like life lessons that came out of this, and I just feel like I'm always able to relate to the main character so much. I wrote a few notes when I originally read this book. I said, first of all, I mentioned Shania Twain. Shania Twain is like, I love Shania Twain so much. I said I love the banter between the characters. It's a slow burn, which is always good. I said Emily Henry is always very descriptive with her writing, the places they traveled. I always say that Emily Henry like takes my thoughts and puts them on paper, which is why I love her book so much. But yeah, that is my thoughts on this. Overall, I give this 4.75 stars. So again, not a 5-star, but still always here for some Emily Henry. Okay, number 6, we have the famous Fourth Wing. I also am going to tie in Iron Flame with this as well, because honestly I love them both equally. I don't love one more than the other, so these are both equally number 6 in this little ranking. There's so much hype around them, and I feel like either you love it or you don't love it. This was one that I just absolutely ate up. I loved so much, and I don't know if that's because it is one of the first fantasy books I ever read. I did read the Caraval series before this, but this was like the second big fantasy. I feel like Caraval is a fantasy, but it's very, you know, cozy fantasy. It's nothing like high stakes, but this was high stakes. There's so much world building, so much politics that you have to understand. There's also a romance in this, which obviously, you know, I'm gonna eat up. I just love the concept behind it. I loved the politics of it, everything. Honestly, I rated both of those 3.5 out of 5 stars. So like I said, I like them both equally. not one more than the other. I will say in Iron Flame, I do wish that Xaden was in the story more. I feel like he was away a lot, and obviously that's like because he's like at that point in his career. I don't even know what to call that. Yeah, so he has to be away fighting a lot, which I didn't necessarily love, but overall I still love this story. I loved the dragons. It's all just so good. So if you haven't read that, you need to read it. Number 5, we have The Housemade by Frida McFadden. You guys, when I finished this book, the way I was absolutely shook. Like, even now, thinking back on it, I'm still in shock of this book, and I was so skeptical because this is another one of those books where I feel like you either love it or you hate it. I absolutely loved it. I read this in 4 hours, all in one sitting. I did not put it down, and it was just so good. It was so captivating, and like, I don't think there was a good point in this book where you could set the book down and not like figure out what's going on. Every single part of it was so fast-paced. I need to read more of her books because I just fell in love with her writing and the storyline. It was also interesting. I really did not like predict anything that was going to happen in this book. I had no idea what was going on. So overall, I rated this 4.5 stars. I said it was super fast-paced. It was twisted, kept me on the edge of my seat, and overall it was a great thriller. So I don't know if I want to read the second one in this story because I've heard that it's very, very similar to the first one. I think it's The Housemaid's Secret. Coming in at number 4, we have Every Last Word. This is by Tamara Ireland Stone. If you have not read this, you really need to read this. I have not heard that many people talk about this since like the time frame when I originally read this. I read this about a year ago, maybe a little bit less than that. This book is so good for so many reasons. So this is a YA romance. This tells the story of Samantha. She suffers with OCD, and yeah, it takes you throughout like her high school year. She feels very much like an outcast, does not have many friends, and one day she meets this friend. I don't remember the name of the friend. Oh, Caroline. Caroline introduces her to like this poet society. It's a very secret society that they have in their school, and they all basically tell poems, write songs, I think. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've read it. So she joins this like poet society, poets club, and she meets this guy. I think the guy is AJ, I want to say. Yes. They grow a connection, start to get closer, and it turns into a romance. And this book is so cute, so good, so many good lessons in it. The ending, oh my gosh. I want to reread this so bad. I'm gonna say that for every single book because like, why would I not want to reread it? It's giving me chills honestly thinking about it. This also touches a lot on OCD. Obviously the main character struggles with that, so it's going to focus on that a lot, and I just thought it was very eye-opening. I personally don't suffer with it, so I don't know how good of a description it gives of OCD, but I was able to get a lot of insight into it, into what it could be like to have it. So it definitely opened my eyes to that as well. Yeah, I definitely rated this 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was such a great read. When I read this, the notes that I have are, I absolutely loved Sam and all of the characters. AJ is one of my favorite book boyfriends, so gentle and caring. I still feel that same way about it. If you take anything from this video, this is the one book that you should read, even over all the books that I'm about to talk about, the top 3. This is one of the good ones for sure. Okay guys, we are officially into the top 3 favorite books of mine. I'm probably going to say a lot of the same things in the next 3 books. I love this book. You need to read this book. I want to reread this book. Coming in at number 3, we have If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. I reread this about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, because the second book came out, If Only I Had Told Her. I reread this in one day and it's so good. This is another YA romance. This tells the story of Autumn and Finn, and again, another childhood friends to lovers. They grew up together. Their moms were best friends. They grew up like right next door to each other, and throughout high school they start to kind of grow apart and start to have different like love interests. The main character, Autumn, starts to realize that she still has a lot of love and a lot of feelings for Finny. Yeah, that's as much as I'm gonna say about it. The ending is absolutely heartbreaking. If you've heard about this book, you've probably heard that it's very, very sad. This is the first book that I ever cried to. I read this very early on in my reading journey, so that is why I reread it, because I wanted to see exactly what happened before I read the second book, and I just fell in love with it all over again. It was 5 stars again. I did not love the second one as much as I loved this one. The second one has different point of views, and I just felt like it wasn't necessary. Yeah, it kind of left off where this book ended, and I just didn't love it. I feel like it kind of went on about nothing, and although I loved being able to be with the characters again, it just wasn't my favorite. But this one is very good, so yeah, I love this one. I feel like this is always just gonna have like a special place in my heart. Okay, you guys, this might come as a shock if you are an avid viewer of my videos. I always say that this is my favorite book, and recently I've been saying that it's kind of a tie between 2 of my favorite books. I didn't know like which one was higher than the other. I feel like I kind of made a decision. Number 2 of my favorite is Happy Place by Emily Henry, which leaves number 1 being Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings. This is the 5th book in the Magnolia Park series. I feel like this is huge because I've gone so long saying that this is my all-time favorite book. I feel like every day is different. Like, I feel like sometimes I love this book more and sometimes I love this book more, so I feel like this is interchangeable. But for the moment, I think that this one is number 2. They're both 6-star reads. I love them both so much. This tells the story of Harriet and Wynne. So Harriet and Wynne were engaged, and they recently broke off their engagement, but they have not told anyone. They haven't told their friends, their family, anything. And their friends go on an annual trip to Maine. So the story starts off with them going on this trip, and they're basically pretending throughout the trip that they are still together because they don't want to break the news to anyone. We also find out that Sabrina and her boyfriend, which is another friend couple, are going to get married on this trip, and Harriet and Wynne do not want to ruin that, so they decide to act like they're together throughout the whole trip because they were going to tell them, but then they find out this news and they're like, oh, we should just wait. Throughout the book they are enemies, but they're obviously like formally together. It's very slow burn, which I feel like is why I love it so much. And also they have that history of being together previously. It goes back in time between when they first met each other and also present time, so we do get both timelines of how their relationship started and how it progressed. I went through and recently reread this and tabbed it. There's so many good quotes in this book. I related so much to the main character. She's struggling a lot with obviously her relationship, her job she's also struggling with, and then also her relationship with her family. It talks about that and kind of her dynamic with that. I was just able to relate to Harriet so much throughout this book, and also loved the romance. So there's so many reasons why I love this book, and I feel like I will continue to go back and reread this every single year because it was really interesting to see how my perspective changed on the book from when I first originally read it a year ago to me rereading it like this past month. Lots of different perspectives on it, and I feel like it's such a good book for people in their 20s, people who are kind of going through the same thing that they're going through. So I just love this book. 6 stars for sure. All right guys, that leaves me with number 1, which is Into the Dark. Again, this is the 5th book in the Magnolia Park series. I had so many different mixed thoughts when I first started the book. The very first book in the series, I honestly did not love it that much. I think I rated it like 3 out of 5 stars. And as the story progresses, you obviously are with the characters more and more, and you just get to see their lives, why they are the way they are, and what they've been through. I feel like when you're with characters more often, you start to develop that love and that relationship with them and just love them so much more. As I've progressed through the series, my ratings for the books have gotten higher and higher, so I feel like that's very typical to happen as you are spending more time with these characters. This book, very similar to Happy Place, touched so much on like family trauma and why the characters are the way that they are. It was just so vulnerable, and I cried throughout this book. I laughed. I was like depressed because I just felt so strongly for Magnolia and BJ and what they have been through. It just gives such a good explanation for it. I'm really excited to go back and reread the whole series and kind of pick up on things that this book talked about that were like dropped in those last books. I feel like I've always classified this series as romance, but now I'm feeling like it's more of fiction, and I feel like a lot of other people have also felt the same way as well, just because it doesn't, this book specifically does not it talks about their romance, but it's more focused on like the family aspect of everything, and the characters are going to therapy, so they're talking about a lot of different heavy topics. You just have to read it to understand, and I know the series is not for everyone. It does have a trope that a lot of people don't like, and I personally don't really like it either, but it just makes sense. Like, you just have to push through, okay? It just makes sense once you get to this book. This book explains everything. Like, it just explains everything. I don't know what else to say. I'm not trying to make excuses either, but maybe I am. You just have to get to this one, okay? I love it so much. I love the full series, and I'm so excited to go reread it. I will say I don't really love Daisy Hates as much as I like the Magnolia Parks books, because if you don't know, it kind of bops between Magnolia's story and Daisy's story. Obviously it's like a big friend group, so you see everyone's character in each of the books, but yeah, I definitely like Magnolia's story more than Daisy's story. So, and other people feel very differently about that. All right guys, so those are my top 10 favorite books that I've ever read throughout my reading journey. You guys should comment down below your top 10 or top 5 or top 3, however many you want to do. Let's just talk about all of our favorite books in the comments. I want to hear what you guys love, get some new book recommendations, so definitely let me know in the comments below. Just talking about these books all make me so happy. The amount of serotonin that I get just from reading is honestly insane. Like, I've never had a hobby that truly makes me so happy and so joyous. The way that you can just fall into a book and get wrapped up and just love the characters so much is honestly crazy. Just the fact that I did not read for the first like 20 years of my life is so insane to me, and honestly really sad. Like, I missed out on so much joy. I'm so happy that I found reading and am able to enjoy such a amazing hobby and able to connect with so many people and like have this channel where I can share my thoughts. It's just honestly insane, and that you guys care to be here and hear my thoughts. Also, I don't know if I've said it in a video specifically, but thank you guys so much for 10,000 subscribers. Like, even saying that, it's just so wild to me. I've had this dream and this goal for so long. I first made my YouTube channel in 2014, so I've had it for a long time. I haven't posted like consistently throughout that time, but I am so grateful for all of you for being here and like listening to myself. Sometimes I question why anybody wants to listen to me, because I just feel like I talk about nothing and I'm so boring, but obviously you guys have shown me so much love and I'm so grateful for all of you. So thank you for making this possible. Thank you for letting me do this and just being here. I love you guys so much. Thank you. I think that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.